Hello everybody and welcome to another of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profiles. This time I'm going to show you Trap BA. Trap BA I think is the best way to play Burning Abyss in the current metagame because it has like pretty favorable matchups against Eldritch and Adamantipator. Plus it's the version of Burning Abyss that kind of does the best in terms of matchups and also doesn't really get outclassed by other decks. So for example, when you look at Block BA, Block BA is just kind of like a worse version of Adamantipator in terms of being a combo deck, and for example, PK Fire just kind of don't hold up as well as the ones did. They don't really like dominate the metagame, despite being a pretty fun version to play. I don't think it's the most like competitive in comparison with Trap BA or Control Burning Abyss, whatever you want to call this, Helmet BA. Anyway, this video, or rather this project, is going to be split up into two parts. The first part I'm going to show you how to build, how to build Burning Abyss, so use my video as sort of like a starting point for your own version of the deck. And then the second part is going to be how to play the deck, so I'll kind of go over some replays and show you like where to hit certain decks or kind of just how to play certain hands. Anyway, without further ado, let's go straight into the main deck. Also, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyway. Starting with the main deck, we have double copies of Tour Guide. Not much to say about this card. This is just the best starter in the entire deck. Kind of gets you to full combo. Usually is the card that you want to search off Skarm during the end phase. And overall, I just like this card a lot. I think it's a pretty good card. Hopefully it comes back to 3 in the next ban list. It would really suck if a ban list dropped after I make this video, right? Moving on, triple copies of Rhino Warrior, Honorary Burning Abyss. He's just another copy of any BAs, and this plus any BA kind of gets you into a full combo, which is really, really insane. So another thing is when you're trying not to just like send it to the graveyard for no reason. Try keep it in the deck because when you mill, it's when you get the most value out of Rhino Warrior, or when you open it because it's a great starter. One of VAs, one Graph, one Seer. These are sort of like your staples. They kind of get you to other cards and help you make combos. Graph is phenomenal. Seer enables the little Seer Dante loop, which you actually abuse a whole bunch in this deck. For the other one of BAs, the other utility BAs, you have, you can't really see, yeah, sure. Barbar, although because of quarantine, you can't really cheese Barbar for a game anymore, or like win in time with Barbar like you once could, but hopefully when lockdown is over and whatnot, we will be able to kill people with Barbar. Calcab, phenomenal back row. Disruption, especially if your opponent only has like one back row. This card, you gain a lot of value. Alec, really, really good to send with Beatrice if you send at the correct time. And Libic just kind of helps you play with some awkward hands. So as you can see, we are not playing Rubik because we are not playing Needle Fiber, Access Code, Celine, combos, blah, blah, blah. For the 3 of BAs, you're playing 3 copies of Skarm. I know this is a proxy, don't worry, it's coming in the mail. But yeah, 3 Skarm, I think this card's just a staple 3 of because you'll always want to make sure you try and get your search during the end phase with it. And 3 copies of Farfa, your main disruption, just a pretty solid card. You can send it to the graveyard with Beatrice, you can send it to the graveyard through a bunch of ways, and it's just overall super amazing. Also helps you push for a game by removing cards on the field. Anyway, now for my favorite non-BA card, we have 3 copies of Absolute King Backjack. So the reason why I'm playing 3 Backjack is every time I see that profile of Trap BA or I'm watching replays, Backjack just absolutely outperforms, and everybody says this card's just absolutely amazing because it just outperforms. But some people are only playing like 2 of as a 2 of or even as a 1 of, and I figured, well, if this card outperforms and it's like absolutely amazing, why not maximize? So I'm trying 3 copies of Backjack, and right now it's working phenomenally. This card's just super, super good. If you don't know what it does, when it's sent to the graveyard, you look at the top 3 cards, arrange them in any order, and then you can banish this card from the graveyard, quick effect by the way, and reveal the top card. If it's a normal trap, you can set it and activate it that turn, so it's pretty good. Now, when I'm building a deck like this and I'm showing it off on a video, I want to make sure that I can cover as many matchups as possible. If I was going to a tournament, maybe I wouldn't play this exact build, or even like some of these cards, but I feel like because if you're playing like online or if you're just starting out, you kind of need to cover a lot of matchups because you're not always going to play against meta. Because of that, I'm playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom just kind of is the disruption that this deck doesn't have in terms of like negation. And I think it's kind of necessary to just play this because 1, it's an easy side out card. And 2, like I said, it just offers that disruption that this deck doesn't have in terms of like negating searches or draws or whatever. for the spells, on the same page, 3 copies of Call by the Grave. This deck doesn't really lose to hand drops that much because like a lot of your stuff activates for cost, like Dante or Cherubini, but sometimes if the opponent has like impermanence, or if the opponent like I don't know, if they do something weird and you have like Tornado left on the field, sometimes that can be pretty bad. So I think Call by is okay in the main deck. It's pretty good against decks like Elder because you can banish the Golden Lord and then you're just kind of like plussing, because they can't. It's much harder for them to keep going because their effects are negated and stuff. But this card again, if you feel like it's not good in the matchup, you can always side it out. Finally, for the spells, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, best spell in the entire deck, and probably in the game. Now, for the traps, 3 copies of Trap Trick. This is just any copy of your other traps, but be careful because when you activate, you can only use that trap card for the rest of the turn. This is really good back row bait because if the opponent hits this, you can always chain and then set any trap card. So, you know, basically you don't really let your opponent get rid of your back row for free. Now, for one of my favorite trap cards in the deck, we have 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing is just super good. It's basically the Decro shuffles into the deck, but also you can send any Fiend to the graveyard. So a lot of the times I would send things like Backjack to kind of set up more disruption, but if I need like fast disruption, I can send things like Fire for Alec, or if it's like my opponent doesn't really have much and I can kind of just send like a Scarman, get a Torghite Search in the end phase, that's also pretty good. Moving on to the actual best trap cards in the deck, we have 3 copies of Karma Cut and 3 copies of Dinomischus, aka Paleozoic Sharingan. So these cards are just super good, and it's important that you know when to use one or the other, especially with Trap Trick, because they have slightly different applications. So Karma Cut not banishes, but discards for cost to activate it, and it banishes the card on the field and cards in the graveyard that share the same name. So if, again, like I keep using Elder Lich because this is kind of like an anti-meta deck, but if the opponent has like a Golden Lord in the field and one in grave, you basically just 2-for on your opponent, and it's absolutely amazing. But the great thing about it is that it discards for cost, so if you have like Seers or Farfas in hand, you can just discard them and then you're guaranteed to get their effects, whereas Dinomischus targets for cost and then discards. But the great thing about Dinomischus is that it's a body in the graveyard. When you activate another trap card, you get to summon this, and then it helps you link climb, and that way you can close out games a little bit faster. So that's basically the slight difference. And then finally, for the trap cards, we have 2 copies of XYZ Revive Splash. This card came out in Eternity Code, and if you don't know what it does, you target a rank 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, special summon it, becomes water, and then you can banish this from the graveyard and rank up a water monster you control from your extra deck. So you'll see how we use that card when we go into the extra deck, which we're going to do now. I'm going to try to speed things up a bit because I don't want to drag them up for too long. Double copies of Dante, 1 Pilgrim, 1 Beatrice, and 1 Cherubini. This ratio is like fine. Some people don't even play Cherubini. I just kind of want to play because I bought the card and I kind of want to like make sure that I don't know, don't use it or something. I don't know. But the only thing that I would kind of change about this extra deck is maybe playing a 3rd Dante. I don't really have the space, but it doesn't come up that much. It's just like in very like rare grindy games, I would love to have the 3rd Dante, but we can't always have everything. Plus, games don't last that long that you need it like every single game. Moving on with the extra deck, we are playing the Revive Splash package. So I'll explain how these work. You have 1 Toad, 1 Shark, and 1 Grand Pulse. So Bahamut Shark, you can detach summon a water from your extra deck, so you summon Toad. That's rank 3 or lower? Oh, yeah, rank 3 or lower. So with Revive Splash, you rank up Dante into Bahamut Shark if Dante's still a water, and then you detach Dante, summon Toad, and then Dante add back anything. And the reason why you play Grand Pulse is because sometimes your Dante is not water anymore, and you need to go into a water to make Bahamut Shark, so you have Grand Pulse Plus. It's just good. It's just a good rank 3 to deal with the back row. Finally, for the links, we have the 3 big boys of the deck. We have 1 Trisbania, 1 Boros Starter, 1 Zerboros. Trisbania is the most important one. You go into this like almost every game, and this is like the card that you want when you have your setup. And if you don't know what your setup is, it's basically like IP Beatrice. And then you can go into like Unicorn or Tribania. Broadsword, once you commit to this, you kind of just want to make sure that you go for game. And Zeraboros kind of just helps you beat over like huge things, because its attack is pretty huge if you make it like when you have like a fairly decent banish pile. And also it's kind of easy to make because it's only 2 effect monsters. Overall, these cards are pretty good. Finally, for the links, we have the 3 Nightmares and the 1 IP. So you can make this with Masquerena. These are just like your generic removal. Cerberus is actually really, really good in the current metagame because you can kind of deal with monsters that are summoned into the main monster zone because of MR5. Things like links, synchros, and fusions. And also, which one am I missing? Exeses, right. And then IP is like super necessary in this deck because you usually like your turn 1 plays to end on IP plus like anything else, and you can kind of then go into an extra deck monster like Unicorn or Trisbania. So I wouldn't really play the deck without IP. Finally, for the side deck, again, I'm going to try to keep things short. 1 Token Collector, if I was going to a tournament, I would probably main deck this because it's kind of like a free win against like decks that spam tokens, like Combo Eldritch, or any deck that uses like Aurora Dawn and Link Cross. This card's just super, super good if you don't know what it does. If it's in hand or graveyard, you not discard it, you special summon it and then destroy all tokens, and then your opponent can summon tokens. Also, it's a fiend, so you can send it to the graveyard with Rhino Warrior and Fiend Griefing, so that's why you only really need the 1 copy of it. Other cards, this can be literally anything. Right now I'm just playing double copies of Lost Wind for like grindy games, but this card is pretty good because you can generate a lot of value from it, since if you mill you can still set it, and then if you just draw it you can always just set it, and then your opponent summons something from the graveyard, from the extra deck while this is in graveyard, and then you can reset it. So you could probably change this for like anything else really. Then I'm playing 2 copies of Twin Twister. If my side deck wasn't as weird, I would probably play like 3 Cosmics, but since I'm playing BA, I kind of want to use Twin Twister, since, I can kind of generate a little bit of value by discarding BAs or other cards that would get graveyard effects. So I like Twin Twister. Now for the spicy card in the side deck, we have Dark Sacrifice. So Dark Sacrifice is pretty cool. If your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card on the field, it doesn't even have to be on your field, just on the field, period. You can negate the effect, so it negates the effect, not the activation. And you can send any level 3 or lower dark monsters from your deck to the graveyard. So you can send any BA, or you can send Backcheck. So I think this card's really good. It's basically just hidden BA support in disguise, and the card came out and didn't see a lot of play. So if you want to use like a fun card, I would recommend Dark Sacrifice. If you don't want to play Dark Sacrifice, play Witch's Strike. That card's just really good. For more back row disruption, we want 3 copies of Heavy Storm Duster. This card's really good against things like Altergeist and Paleos, and basically just decks that set a lot of back row. And you can set it with Trap Trick, so it's pretty cool. And then finally, because things like Sky Striker are coming back into the meta, we are playing 1 Imperial Order anti-spells. So this is basically like if your opponent's deck plays spells in any way or needs spells to kind of work, you slide these cards in. Really good against like Pendulum and Shadolls and Sky Strikers. These cards are basically auto wins against those decks. So that's pretty much it for the deck profile. Again, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.